primary season is winding down and the focus is shifting towards the general elections, which are set to take place in 75 days. Those will go fast. Rasmussen Reports conducted a poll to see which issues are most important to voters. One of those issues is election integrity, which we talk about every day here nearly. According to the new poll, a whopping 60% said they are very concerned about preventing cheating in elections, while only 15%, mere 15, say they are not very concerned. The other major issue with voters is violent crime. An overwhelming 61% said they are very concerned with violent crime, while 9% said they are not very concerned, and only 3% said they are not concerned at all. So since we're only 75 days away from Election Day, let's bring in Rasmussen Reports head pollster Mark Mitchell to break down all of this for us. Welcome back, Mark. Here we go. We're in the stretch towards home plate. What do these polls tell us?
Yeah, it's getting close. So we asked this question coming into election seasons, and we've asked it a myriad of different ways. This is one of the tools that you use to see what issues are important to people, what's going to make them turn out, and you layer that as well as assessments of who's the candidate. We've asked it so many ways that we have a big list. Your viewers can go look if they'd like to check it out. I'll retweet it again on our Twitter feed. But the top 5 are basically mostly economic focused. We have rising gas prices, the economy, energy and policy, inflation, and violent crime in there. But what we did with this set was really to try and pick and choose a couple of these sort of pet issues that each party has to see which one gets more support and which one gets less support. And there were some pretty surprising results. If you look at all voters and if you look at the response very concerned, which I think is a reflection of whether or not that issue is really going to motivate somebody, with all voters, violent crime is actually number 1, which is surprising given all the headlines there's been about inflation. So this is an issue that really matters to people. And it's even overpowering issues like abortion rights with women. They care more about violent crime. And then the big surprising one, as you pointed out, was election integrity and cheating. That's a number 2 issue amongst all likely voters. And that's just incredible with how many things are in the headlines and how, you have COVID, you have January 6th riots, you have climate change, and these bills getting passed. People care about cheating, and that's not something that's in the media. As you know, we've been asking a lot of election integrity questions, and I think one of the stark differences that we see with these issue questions is how what the things voters care about aren't necessarily what's making the headlines. So Ukraine, voters really don't care that much. COVID, voters don't care anymore. All these pet issues, climate change, they really don't care. Now, why we do this is so that we can see the crosstabs and break it down by party and see individually, okay, well, what do the parties care about? So one thing I'd say, looking at Republicans first, is Republicans are about 10% more very concerned about things than Democrats. And I guess that makes sense since they don't have their party in the White House or in Congress. But by very concerned, the top 3 issues for Republicans are inflation, violent crime, and then also election integrity and illegal immigration tied for 3rd. What Republicans unsurprisingly don't care about is climate change and abortion rights. So you could probably predict what the Democrat list is going to be at the very top for them is abortion and climate change. And at the very bottom for them is illegal immigration and election integrity. But, this is why we do this, looking at the independent voters. And as you know, there's as many independent voters as there are Republicans or Democrats. And which way they break is really what determines the outcome of elections. And for independents, with the response very concerned, their top one is violent crime, not inflation anymore, violent crime. And then number 2 is election integrity. So election integrity is the number 2 issue of independent voters. And that's just incredible and was a very surprising response. We're talking, numerically very close to violent crime. So violent crime was 62%. Election integrity, 59%, beating inflation at 57%. And I think this is funny too. If you look at what independents don't care about, what they're not concerned about, it's climate change at 43%, and then abortion at 32%, and then also illegal immigration. So independents really aren't really concerned about those hot button issues for Republicans and Democrats.
You know why I find this really interesting, Mark, and we're running out of time, but is that I saw recently that 63% of the primary Republican candidates really ran on an election integrity platform, and it was being suggested that they wouldn't perform well in the general because of that. But if your polling, is correct on these issues, it could really benefit them with independents who seem concerned about it at 69%. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.